Hi everyone, I'm the Cold Weather Chef and we have a special show for you today. We're going to make Cuccidati, which are Italian fig cookies. It's a favorite of Sicilians and Italians at Christmas time and you will love them too. There is no literal translation to the word Cuccidati into English. As near as we can tell, it means little bracelet. Often bakers will make a round, something like a small bundt cake that's filled with this fig filling, and it looks like a large donut which could fit on your wrist like a bracelet. We're going to make cookies which are much smaller, and that would imply that it's a little bracelet, although the small ones are just cookies. They can't fit on your finger. I suppose you could make it that way if you'd like. Anyway, I've never made these before, so it's really an exciting time. So we're going to take our ingredients, and I will list the instructions on the video, and we'll put the dry ingredients into a food processor. So we have flour, some sugar, touch of salt, and we have some baking powder. It takes a lot of baking powder. 3 of those. And we're just going to pulse this to mix it up. Alright, now we're going to add our wet ingredients. Starting with cold butter. So I'm going to just section up the butter. And I'm going to throw a few pats in here. Take this top off and let it chunk up a little. And I'll throw a few more in. And the cold butter works good. It will make little flour clumps, which will make the cookie pastry that much tastier. All right. Then we'll continue on with the wet ingredients. Tablespoon of vanilla. And I think what we'll do is let this run. An egg. And a third of a cup of milk. Okay, so that's going to form a rough dough that I can finish by hand shortly. And that's probably good. And I have my nice countertop here of marble. We'll pour that out. Obviously, take out the blade. And we're going to form this by hand, finish it up by hand. Yeah, that's looking nice. This should make a really nice cookie. I feel like I need a little bit more flour though. Often making cookies and baking is a feel. So you have to understand the texture that you're looking for. And mine felt a little too wet, so I had to add some flour. This feels pretty good and pliable, which will be great when we're making the actual cookie. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to roll this cookie out into a rectangle as best we can. So I'll take a little bit. Okay, here, we'll throw some flour down. Right there. We'll get our rolling pin and we'll start rolling. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're looking to get a rectangle. Let's push this off to the side so I have a little more room. I think this is going to be fine. It doesn't look like much right now, but what we're going to do is cut off some of it so I actually have a rectangle. There we go. Now it looks like a rectangle. And this is where the magic happens. Making the fig filling is really important because a lot of cookies get their sweetness from sugar. And this cookie has sugar in it, obviously, but not as much as other cookies that you might buy at a store. So it gets its sugar from natural ingredients like fig. This filling is something I bought, and a lot of Italian grandmothers who make this won't really give you their specific recipe. Often you take figs and you grind them in with dates and raisins, some nuts, possibly honey, or some brandy and orange rind. There's different recipes and everybody has a different recipe, so you can experiment with what you like. This is something I've just purchased at a local Italian store. It saves me a lot of time in making this mixture. So as you can see, I've got a rectangle here. I'm going to take some of this fig mixture and I'm going to put it down the center. Now, it's certainly going to be messy. Well, the fig smells good. All right, so that's good. It just looks like a log going down the center. Let me get that off my hands and I can show you what we're going to do next. So, now we just fold it over to make a roll. And you roll it up and you wet the ends so it'll hopefully stick a little bit. Perhaps give it a little squeeze. Set that down. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to get a bigger knife. I'm just going to cut the end off because we're not going to use that. And you're going to cut these diagonally. And the last one isn't totally going to be diagonal because it's the end. So that's one log that I've made, and I'm going to make some more later. But we're going to put the oven at 425, and we've got an ungreased sheet with parchment paper. So I'm just going to put these on the parchment paper. And I am going to do one last thing. I'm going to give it a little slit right down the middle, about halfway through the cookie, just to allow some moisture to get out. When you cook with fruits that have water in them, often it'll steam, and you don't want a steamed, wet, crusty cookie. It'll kind of ruin the cookie. So a little slit will help the moisture get out of the cookie, and you'll get a nice flaky pastry with the fig center. So stay tuned. I'm going to make a few more of these logs, put these in the oven. When we come back, I'll show you the topping part of this cookie, which will be sugar and sprinkles. And we're back. We've got the oven at 425 degrees. I have a whole tray of cuccidati, and we're going to stick them in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. I'm going to start with 10 and check the bottom. You don't want to get them too brown on the bottom. That means they're overdone, so you just want a very light brown on the bottom of the cookie. So after this, we are going to take them out of the oven and let them cool to room temperature, which will take a couple hours. After they cool to room temperature, we'll come back and we'll create the icing and the sprinkles, put it all together, and you'll be ready to eat. All right, it's been our 10 minutes. I'm going to check on these cookies. They look pretty good. I'm going to get some tongs out because these are going to be really hot. Oh, that looks great. So these are done. I'm going to let them sit in this pan for a few minutes, and then I'm going to move them over to the cooling rack, let them sit for a few hours. So we'll come back in about 2 hours, and then we'll ice these cookies and possibly taste them. Welcome back. I'm the Cold Weather Chef. We've let the cookies cool down for a couple hours, so now we're going to put frosting and sprinkles on to finish them off. So I've made a frosting of powdered sugar and milk, and you just stir it up. You can get whatever consistency you'd like by adding more or less milk. I want this fairly thick so it adheres to the cookie. So I've got my cookies on a little cooling rack with wax paper underneath to make it so we don't make everything super messy. So I'm just gonna pour some frosting on the cuccidati in random patterns. There's no wrong way to do this. Just pour the frosting on. These look so good. All right, we're almost done. Let's see, any others? This looks like it needs a little more. Oops. A little more over there. And finally, got some sprinkles. And just finish them off with some sprinkles. Well, as you can see, sprinkles tend to go everywhere. So be careful with them. But this is your homemade cuccidati. It'll be a favorite of guests whenever they come over, especially during the Christmas season. Have a great time eating these. I'm going to try one right now. It is everything you want in a holiday cookie. Enjoy.